Lions and Dolphins, and welcome to today's literacy. And it is Thursday, I think I've got the right date, the 4th of February. I hope that all of you at home are having a good week and that you've been enjoying this week's work on the Iron Man. Now, something that we do in school every few weeks, as you know, Year 4s, is we do our Chance to Shine in literacy. Now, you will all know what you have to do for your chance to shine, but your adults at home, your parents, mums and dads and carers, might not know. So what I'm going to do today is have a little bit of a reminder for you, set your task that you are going to do in writing, today your writing task, and then today you are going to have that time, which I know you're so good at Year 4s, where you do your very, very best writing. Now I'm going to share my screen with you so I can go through what your chance to shine is going to be all about for this part of the half term. Okay, so this is it, so your chance to shine. Now we've been reading the Iron Man, haven't we? And we've got to the part in the story where people have pretty much forgotten the Iron Man, haven't they? He's been buried in the pit, buried in the trap, and gradually the grass has grown over and people can't even remember the time when he was around. And we're at the moment in the story where there's a family who are picnicking on top of the ground, not even knowing that the Iron Man is buried underneath. Now, if you need a reminder of the story, don't forget that I will put the link on today, and as we have been in previous weeks, where you can go to YouTube and listen to it being read again. We have also, as hopefully some of you may know, left copies of the Iron Man book for you to pick up, and also some photocopies of chapter 1 and 2. So don't forget to head on to those options if you need to listen to or read the story again. So we're at this point. Then, as they watched, an enormous iron hand came up through the crack, groping around in the air, feeling over the grass on either side of the crack. Now, just imagine, Year 4s, what that would be like. Imagine that you are that family, sitting, having your lovely picnic. What would you be thinking? What do you think is going to happen next when you see this terrible, terrible thing happen? And this iron hand coming up through the crack, groping around. So your task is to write what happens next in the story. Now, I don't really mind sea lions and dolphins. If you want to pretend to be one of the people in the family, that's absolutely fine. And we did do some work earlier on this term on writing in the first person. So if you wanted to do that, that's fine. If you're happy just to be a bit like Ted Hughes and be the author telling the story of what happened, again, I don't mind. It's entirely up to you. And I know some of you have probably sneaked ahead a bit, which I don't blame you because it's hard to stop reading the Iron Man, isn't it? But you might very well have read what happens next. But I would really like you to have a think about, your ideas, what you would want to happen next in the story. Now, as you know, Year 4s, this is your chance to shine. So this should really be the very best writing that you have done so far this term. Okay. Now, just so for adults, really, parents and carers to have a look at. In school normally, when we do a chance to shine, we have this next step slip that we stick into books after everyone's done their writing. And I know Year 4s that you will be very familiar with these. We have certain things that we look out for. So we're looking out for good use of punctuation, which we highlight when everyone's finished their writing, we highlight that in pink. We look out for openers, good ways of starting sentences. Have you remembered to start your sentences in different ways? And if we spot good openers, we highlight those in orange. If you have used any good grammar features, that might be use of conjunctions, for example. It might be really good sentence structures that you've included. We will highlight those in green. And finally, our last thing that we especially look out for is beautiful language. So that means really if you've used any powerful verbs, amazing adjectives, some unusual words, maybe you've used a thesaurus, to look those up, we look out for those which we highlight in blue. And I always say to everybody, if you get your chance to shine writing back and it's full of colour, that means it's very good, because there's lots of good things that we've managed to spot. And then we normally have 3 stars, 3 next steps of 3 things that we think perhaps you haven't included this time, that as you're working your way through year 4, you really need to be doing. So those will be on there. If you would like to email me or Mr. Farrow copies of your Chance to Shines, we are very happy to have a look through them as we would normally in school, and do the highlighting and send you the next steps back so that you can have a look at where you need to go with your writing. So it's a good point, isn't it, as we head towards February half term, halfway through our normal school year, even though it's not a very normal school year at all. But it's a good point, isn't it, year 4s, to see, right, how are we getting on with our writing? Are we where we want to be? And what things do we really need to be including as we move on further on into the year? Now, I've put on the next slide for you to have a look at, and you can pause the video here so that you can see this and have that up while you're doing your writing. These are some of the things either that we definitely need to see, that we do all the time, or things that perhaps you've learned in the last 2 or 3 weeks with myself and also Mr. Farrow. So we've got those for you there. The first one, I put in all the punctuation that I want to see from you, year 4s. I have put, as you know, I love to see beautiful, neat joined handwriting, please. Different types of sentences. You looked earlier on in the unit on the Ironman at looking at short sentences, and we've also done some work on using conjunctions. So I would like to see all of those different sorts included. You did some work earlier this week with Mr. Farrow on embedded clauses, and you can always have a look back at the sway. I'm just trying to think which day it was. I think it might have been on the Tuesday, if you want to be reminded of those. We did lots of work on similes earlier on in the unit. Repetition, where you repeat the same word so it makes it sound really creepy, and you've got that atmosphere in your writing. Exciting vocabulary. Different ways of starting sentences, and I just noticed there on my bullet point I haven't put my capital letter in there, so I'll just put that back in. Yeah, this is one we haven't done a huge amount on lately, certainly not since lockdown, but we did do some work on fronted adverbials, which are good ones, sea lions and dolphins, if you remember, of starting sentences. So it could be, you know, at the edge of the grass, or beneath the soil, or underneath the sky. Any of those kinds of ways of using fronted adverbials would be great. Don't forget you can use adverbs and conjunctions to start sentences as well. So try to make sure you're using different words each time you start a new sentence. And there we go, I've put fronted adverbials underneath. And finally, we have done quite a bit of learning, haven't we, on writing dialogue, writing speech. So that would be a super one to see. One thing that I think we have mentioned lately, which I've just remembered I want to include on my list, is paragraphs. If you could paragraphs, that would lions and dolphins. Okay, so I'm just going to come back to me. Here I am back again. So I'm just going to say, spend about 3/4 of an hour or so, maybe an hour, on your writing. You need to be really, for your Chance to Shine, writing at least 1 page, more if you can do so. And I'm just going to say, good luck, sea lions and dolphins. And, you know I've had some emails from some parents and carers saying how proud they've been of you and your writing, and how impressed. So see if you can really impress your adults at home. I know, as you always impress me and Mr. Farrow when you do Chance to Shines in school. So please do send them in via email if you can. And Mr. Farrow and I will be looking forward to reading your amazing writing about the next part of the story. Okay, and I'll see you for our next lesson.